Hi, you guys. This is day one of the 5 days to Freelance Ready challenge. It's just going to be a series of 5 short videos that will help you get kind of documents and collateral ready to start finding clients by the end of the week. So we're going to be looking at things like your resume, we're going to be looking at contracts, we're going to be looking at welcome packets and everything that you need to make you feel confident when you land your first client. So today we're going to talk about mindset, and I want to start by just running you through my work history, my professional work history, just to give you an idea of how my mindset kind of had to change over the years, especially when I went from employee to freelancer. Because if you're thinking of going freelance, you're going to have to kind of go through that transition at some stage. So I began my kind of real professional career just after I finished university in 2012. I went straight into a position with a travel company where I was their marketing assistant. So I was kind of writing web copy, I was writing website pages, I was writing product descriptions, I was writing blog posts, articles, social media copy, kind of anything to do with the web and promoting in that capacity. And I worked with this company for about a year and 4 months, where I kind of learnt a lot during this time. And alongside that, kind of in my spare time, I created and started to build up Wonderful World when it was a travel blog back in the day. So on that, I was kind of writing about travels that I'd been on, travels that I was going on, and just kind of general travel tips. There was also some kind of philosophy about travel thrown in there as well. So after a year and about 4 months at this travel company, I kind of started looking for a new position. It was time for me to move on. I figured I'd learn all I could from that company, and I wanted to use the skills that I'd gained in a different way. So I went on to land a position as community manager at a video production company. And whilst there, I was kind of doing a similar thing that I was at the travel company. So I was doing website copy, articles, blog posts, social media, but I was also doing outreach. I was doing events, planning and running events, kind of attending all sorts of meetings, just generally anything to do with kind of communication and community around the business. I was the go-to person. And then in 2014, my boyfriend at the time decided that he would like to try something different. He was an English teacher at the time. He taught English as a foreign language. And he kind of thought that moving abroad, working abroad, would give him a chance to kind of earn more, add something to his CV, and give us a chance to explore a different place, live in a different country, kind of while we were still young, before I'd settled down in a long-term position. So we were kind of like, yeah, let's do this, let's go for it. So I had about a month to go from full-time employee to freelancer. So in the end of July 2014, I said to my boss, look, I'm going to be quitting, I'm moving abroad. And then our plane was booked for, I think it was like the 9th of September or something. So it was literally a month to get myself together. So during August, I was kind of finding clients, I was sending out proposals, I was applying for jobs, I was doing all sorts, working on my blog, just trying to get my name out there. And the biggest thing that I struggled with at that time was going from being someone's employee, so working for someone else, to kind of being my own boss and being my own employee at the same time. That kind of role reversal was something that I struggled with for a while, because I was so used to working for someone else, to having my work checked by someone else, to kind of answering to someone else telling me what to do. So to then go from that to kind of having to do all of that myself, to having to self-regulate my own work, having to find clients myself, having to kind of sit down at the beginning of the week and be like, okay, so this is what I need to do this week if I want to earn money, if I want to kind of move my business forward. And I think that this is a problem that a lot of freelancers go through when they first begin, because it is such a huge change. It's such a huge transition to go from being this kind of molded employee that fits into this business to a freelancer who kind of needs to work with many different kinds of businesses, who needs to fit into all sorts of companies, who needs to kind of do work in many different areas, because being a freelancer isn't just being a writer, being a designer, being a social media manager, or whatever it is you do. It's also, you're also your own accountant, you're also your own social media manager, you're also your own admin assistant. You literally have to do kind of everything yourself until you have the funds and the capacity to take on assistants and employees. So for me, that was the most difficult thing about going freelance, kind of thinking of myself as a boss and being that confident freelancer when I was pitching for jobs, as opposed to maybe a more passive employee applying for full-time positions, because that was the only experience I'd had in the past, applying for full-time jobs the way you're supposed to, the way that society tells you to, and then suddenly having to be the person who is the expert and who is saying, we need to do this, I can do this for you, this is what needs to happen, was a huge kind of stumbling block in the early stages of my career. So that's just kind of like a brief overview of how I needed to change my mindset from employee to freelancer. And in today's challenge, I kind of want you to start thinking about maybe what you might struggle with when it comes to mindset, going from employee or whatever to freelancer. And like with most things, it's all about practice. So after the first few times I kind of been this confident freelancer applying for positions, the whole fake it till you make it kind of thing, I was actually more confident applying to these jobs and putting my resume forward and kind of pitching these companies, because I'd done it before, I knew what I was doing. I was starting to think of myself as a boss, as a successful freelancer, not just an employee kind of looking for my next full-time position. So there are 3 steps that I want you to take in today's challenge. First of all, I want you to repeat in your head, maybe say it out loud, I am a boss, I am a successful freelancer, I am a boss, I am a successful freelancer, until it starts to sink in, until you start to believe it yourself. Secondly, we need to make it real, because even though we're saying it out loud, we're saying it in our heads, we're saying it to ourselves, for things to kind of feel real, we need to say it to someone else. We need someone else to know that. So I want you to update your social media profiles to say freelancer, to say boss of this, to say business owner. You can update your Facebook profile, you can update your Twitter profile, you can update on LinkedIn, and obviously wherever you feel comfortable. If you're still in a full-time position where your boss might be a little bit like, what's going on here, then think that through. So if you can't put it on social media just yet, maybe write it down, send it in an email to a friend, send it in an email to yourself, post about it on your private Facebook profile, post it in a Facebook group that you're in, just so that somebody else knows that you are a freelancer, that you are a boss. And when you start telling people, then you start having to live up to that kind of expectation that you're this successful boss, you're this successful freelancer. And that's where the mind shift begins to change, and that's when you start to kind of become the successful freelancer and become the boss rather than the employee. So today's challenge is fairly simple, I think, although it can be quite daunting if you're just starting out thinking about yourself in a different kind of way. The next step is head on over to the Facebook thread, which I linked to in the email, and you can talk to your other challenge members about your struggle with mindset, what you did for the challenge, how it was received kind of thing, and hear how others are getting on as well. So make sure you do that, and I'll be back in your inbox tomorrow with day 2 of the 5 Days to Freelance Ready challenge.